Good afternoon, students. So in the last class we discussed the different operating system, that is multi-programming operating system, and how operating system is going to select the different processes and programs which are available in the memory, right? So next we will see how the priorities are assigned, who is going to assign the priority, and how the programs are executed which are available in the queue. Okay, so next we will see priority of programs. What is a priority? It is a tie uh, it is a tie procedure where the OS has to decide to which process I need to assign the resources, right? So it is a tie between two different processes which pop up at the same time for requesting of resources, right? In that case, the operating system must decide which process I need to give the resources first, then resources to second program. Okay, an appropriate measure of performance of a multi-programming OS is throughput. Throughput I have already explained. It is the number of processes which are running in the computer system per unit time. So unit time may be a second, hour, half an hour, or days, and all. It varies, right? So particularly we are going to aim on the number of programs which are run in a computer system per unit time. The OS keeps a sufficient number of programs in a memory at all the times, because if it doesn't keep a sufficient number of programs or processes in a memory, then CPU has to wait, or either the other resource has to wait until the process until those resources are allocated to those particular programs or processes, right? So OS has to maintain a sufficient number of programs or processes in a memory, so that all the resources are efficiently utilized, so that the CPU and IO device will have sufficient work to perform. Until and unless we have sufficient programs in the memory, we cannot say IO device and CPUs are performing efficiently or 100%. This number is called a degree of multiprogramming. How many number of processes are kept in a memory? So that number of processes is called a degree of programming. So the multiprogramming OS employs an overlap of CPU and IO activities in the programs. That means it uses an appropriate program mix, right? So certain processes require central processor unit for its execution. Once a part of the execution of that process is over, then it may require some IO device request. IO device needs to be requested. In that case, the CPU is kept idle, right? But OS has to maintain that so CPU should not be kept idle, and some other processes uh, are brought into are brought from the memory, and to those programs the CPU is allocated. Okay, it uses an appropriate program mix. What we call it as a program mix. It will mix both the CPU bound programs as well as the IO bound programs, right? So for certain interval of time, the process will execute on a processor, right? So after the part of the execution, it may request for IO device. In that case, when the process is performing IO operation, then the CPU has to be assigned to some other processes. So this mixing of CPU as well as the IO activities is called the program mix, which ensures that some of the programs in a memory are CPU bound programs, right? So this I already explained some of the programs, because when you write a simple C program, right? If I write just print hello world, right? So print hello world, if I write, so when I execute it, so partly you require CPU, right? So it has to, the execution of that program has to start from main, then partly the program has to be executed on what? A CPU, right? So once that program is executed and process will come to know that you are printing a hello world, then you require a monitor or a screen you require, on which the message needs to be printed. In that case, it has to perform the IO operation, right? So when a process is or program is performing an IO operation, CPU will be released, right? And it will be allocated to some other processes, right? And this ensures that some of the program is in memory are CPU bound, which are programs that involve a lot of computation but few IO operations. What do you mean by CPU bound programs? It has a lot of execution or computation, but I only few IO operations, right? If I have a small number of scanfs and printfs in a program, in a larger program, then that program needs the IO operations very few, right? So most of the time the CPU is utilized to execute the entire program or a process, and others are IO bound programs which contain very little computation but perform more IO operations, right? For every and for each and every line, if you want the results, that has to be sent to the monitor, right, or sent to some other process. In such cases we require more number of IO operations rather than the computation operations, right? So this is the there are two types of programs in memory. One is called a CPU bound program and IO bound program. You can take any of these programs. It will be a mix of two, right? So part of the program will be executed on the CPU, right? So, and when it requests for the IO devices, the IO device needs to be allocated to those programs, and the program execution needs to be finished. Okay, so always you take any program, it will be a mix of both CPU bound as well as the IO bound operations. Okay, this way the programs being serviced have a potential to keep the CPU and IO devices busy simultaneously. So this kind of program, mixing of both CPU bound as well as IO bound programs, it will keep both IO devices as well as CPU busy simultaneously. The OS uses the notion of priority based preemptive scheduling. What is priority based? What is preemptive scheduling? This you will come to know later. To share the CPU among programs in a manner that would ensure good overlap of their CPU and IO activities, right? So that's what I explained already. So when I was explaining the previous in the previous slide, that is in this slide, when I was explaining this type, this multi-programming concept. So I have explained program initially program CPU is allocated to program 2, and program 1 is performing IO operation, right? So when program 2 starts IO operation, then CPU will be allocated to program 3, right? So same thing I'm going to explain with the help of a priority here, right? See, the kernel assigns numeric priorities to programs, right? So different programs which are available in the memory, to those programs the kernel will assign a different priorities. What are the priorities? It is a type procedure. It's a type procedure, or what you can say, whenever there is a fight between two processes or two programs for requesting of a memory, then kernel will decide, or the operating system will decide, to which program or a process I need to allocate the memory, right? So that decision will be taken by the OS on the basis of what? Priority, right? And what is a priority? We assume that priorities are a positive integers and a large value implies a high priority. Let us say there are three programs P3, P2 and P1. So these programs are available in the memory, and let us say operating system or the kernel assigns the highest priority to P3. Let us say it assigns 3, then to 2 it will assign 2. These are the integer numbers which are assigned to these different programs, right? And the highest number will give you the highest priority, right? So whenever P3 comes first, let us say P1 is getting executed on the CPU. During its execution, if P3 comes and operating system will check it's a priority. If it has highest priority, then CPU will be released from P1 and it will be given to process P3, right? So once the P3 finishes its execution, then again CPU will be released from P3 and it will be given to P1 until and unless one more high priority program comes in the memory, right? Next, when Many programs need the CPU at the same time. This I just now I explained in the last slide. The kernel gives the CPU to the program with the highest priority. It uses priority in a preemptive manner. Preemptive manner in the sense, preemption means release of different resources, right? So when P3 was when P1 was executing, in the last slide I explained, when P1 was executing and suddenly P3 comes which has the highest priority, in that case the CPU needs to be released from the P1. So releasing of that CPU from the P1 is nothing but preemption, right, or preemptive manner you can say. It preempts a low priority program executing on the CPU if a high priority program needs the CPU. This just now I explained. This way the CPU is always executing a higher priority program that needs it. So and always the operating system will select the higher priority highest priority program first, then once the execution of those higher priority programs get over, then it will select the next low priority programs. Okay, how it is going to achieve that, so that we will see now in this table. One is technique. First column is technique and second one is a description. First one, appropriate program mix, right? Just now I explained what is program mix. It is mixing of two types of programs. One is CPU bound program and IO bound program. You take any of the programs, it will be having a part of that program will be containing the computation, and part of the program contains the IO operation, right? So that mixing of these two operations is called a program mix. The kernel keeps a mix of CPU bound and IO bound programs in memory, where CPU bound program is a program involving a lot of computation and very little IO. It uses the CPU in long bursts, that is, it uses the CPU for a longer time before starting an IO operation. This we will see later. In the next slide we will see what is how with an example. Okay. Next, an IO bound program involves very little computation and a lot of IO. It uses CPU in a small burst. So this is important. In IO bound program, IO operation is more compared to the computation, and in CPU bound program, IO operation is less but computation is more. Computation time is more. Right. Next one, the priority based preemptive scheduling. Just now I explained every program is assigned a priority and CPU is always allocated to a highest priority program that wishes to use it. A low priority program executing on the CPU is preempted if a higher priority program wishes to use the CPU. Whatever I discussed in this slide and in the previous slide, it is put in the form of a table. Again I explained the same thing twice, you can say. Okay, moving to the next slide. So here we will see what is the time sharing system, right, and how that particular IO bound and CPU bound programs are executed. Okay, so let us say that the next operating system, which is time sharing system. A time sharing operating system is designed to provide a quick response to sub requests made by users. A time sharing operating system is designed to provide a quick response to sub requests made by the users, right? So these classes of operating system are dependent on each other, right? So I cannot say that these are totally independent classes of operating system. So one of the classes of operating system is going to depend on the second class of an operating system. So in multiple programs, multi-programming operating system, we were discussing about execution of multiple programs in the computer system, right? And it was we also discussed how the priorities are assigned to the kernel by the kernel, right? So once the priorities are assigned, then the programs are executed cyclically, right? So when operating system takes one program for execution, it will not be executed until that program gets over, right? So it will consider each program rotationally, right? Because it has to give good user service to all the processes, right? So now we will discuss the last operating system, which is time sharing operating system. A time sharing operating system is designed to provide a quick response to sub requests made by the users. Time sharing, it is going to share the different resources. Operating system is going to share the different resources on the timely manner, right? So for a certain amount of time, that particular resource is allocated to particular process. So once the time gets elapsed, then that resource will be relinquished or released from that particular process, and it will be allocated to some other process. It achieves this goal by sharing the CPU time among processes in such a way that each process to which sub request has been made would get a turn on the CPU without much delay. So here we are concentrating on the CPU time, for how long the CPU is allocated to a particular process. So that time, CPU time, we are going to discuss here. Okay, because I need to give, our operating system needs to give a good user service to all the processes, right? So if that's what I explained. If one program process is a complex thing and it takes a longer time to execute, then the next process which needs the CPU time or which needs the CPU, that has to wait for a long time, even its computation takes a very less time, right? The scheduling technique used by the time sharing kernel is called a round robin scheduling technique with the time slicing, right? So it will allocate, the kernel will allocate or the scheduler will allocate a timestamp to each process, and a CPU will execute that process only for that much amount of time. Once that amount of time is over, then CPU is released from that particular process and it will be given to some other process, right? So in the diagram you can say a process finishes IO or a new sub request is made, right? So all processes are maintained in the form of a queue, right? So this is called a scheduling queue. So these are nothing but the different processes, right? So I'll take only two processes, right? Then I'll explain this. Okay, so a scheduling queue, first it has a P1, right? Then it will be given to a scheduler, and scheduler will decide. Scheduler will attach the timestamp to that particular process P1, and it will select one of the process depending on the priorities. Let us say P1 has highest priority. Let us say P1 has highest priority and P2 has lowest priority. Okay, so here we are not talking with respect to priority. Sorry, I'll not assign any priority to P1 and P2. Okay, so here as they come into the scheduling queue, they will be sent for the execution. Okay, so it is like first command, first come first serve, right? So P1 is arriving first, so it will be executed first, then P2 will arrive, then P2 will be executed after execution of P1, right? The scheduler will assign the timestamp to P1 and it will be given to a CPU, or CPU is allocated to P1. So only let us say P1 requires 10 seconds to get executed. For complete execution of P1 it requires 10 seconds, let us say, and P2 requires 5 seconds. P2 requires 5 seconds, and let us assume scheduler will assign only 2 seconds to each process, right? So it will assign a timestamp of 2 seconds to each process, and it will be a CPU will be allocated to these process only for 2 seconds, right? So even though P1 requires 10 seconds, it will not allocate entire 10 seconds to process P1. So what happens here? So once CPU is allocated for 2 seconds, right? So after 2 seconds, what scheduler does, or what operating system does, it will release the CPU from process P1, and it will keep back that process P1 here, that keep back process P1 in the scheduling queue, right? Because it has executed for 2 seconds. Next P2 turns come. So here we will have a P2, right? So P2, and again it will attach 2 seconds to that P2, and the CPU will be allocated to P2 for 2 seconds. So once 2 seconds is over, then what happens again? P2 will be released, CPU is released from the P2, and it will be sent back into scheduling queue, right? So again P1 turn comes, and it will be allocated to a scheduler, scheduler will select a timestamp of 2 seconds, then CPU will be allocated. Like this, rotationally P1 and P2 gets executed until their total execution time gets over. Okay.